Hey everyone, John West here again with Spirituality U, and today I want to do something a little different. A lot of my videos have been talking about things specifically to do to kind of improve your life. Today, rather than telling you guys kind of things to do that I've done, I'm just going to share a story of something that happened to me today. Because honestly, today was highly eventful, and it didn't even seem like it was going to be eventful at the start. Like, it started off in a kind of a crappy way that just it was one of those days that I've referred to as like lesson days or test days. And let me tell you, it started off really just kind of driving me down. Like, I spent half a day in bed just being like, I don't want to do anything. But I eventually got myself out of it. And I'm really glad I did, because God bless did I get bombarded with signs from the universe and have all kinds of epiphanies that is honestly still kind of going on. So, anyway, I'm sure some of you through this are going to hear this and be like, oh, that boy's lost his mind. And honestly, I questioned if I hadn't midway through this myself. It's fine if you do. Like, I've been there before questioning this when people told me their kind of crazy story of signs and synchronicities that kind of triggered an epiphany in them. But I feel very called to share this, because I'm sure whether it's a few weeks from now, a few months from now, or a few years from now, someone out there, probably many people out there, are going to actually get something from this and be able to see a little bit of themselves and their journey in this story. So whether you are just going to listen out of curiosity, whether you think you kind of had your bombardment of signs before, or you feel like it's going to happen but you're not really sure, I invite you to stick around and kind of listen. Either you're going to think I'm crazy and you're going to get confirmation that you're not so crazy yourself. So today was a day of just like frustrating trail of dead ends. Like, everything just fizzled out before it actually came to be. It was actually Valentine's Day today, or yesterday, because I'm probably going to upload this like the day after. But everything that I tried to do, from the potential date that I had planned to, trying to go out with friends after, because I was kind of depressed and whatnot, to just the food that I was trying to eat, like everything, restaurants I wanted to go to, anything, literally everything just kind of fizzled out. And the only choice that actually didn't fizzle out was the one that I made with my like intuition, that voice of intuition that I've talked about before. That's the only thing that really kind of panned out, and it started leading somewhere that was beneficial instead of just frustrating. But through all that frustration, I had this epiphany basically, where it's like all these little breadcrumbs or signs that the universe was throwing out to me the last few weeks that I noticed but didn't really understand, because it didn't have context, really. It didn't make sense for what I was experiencing then. It all came swarming at me today with this bombardment of signs and synchronicities that happened, and that's kind of what I'm going to explain today. So like I said, it's Valentine's Day, and I had kind of a date planned, or tentatively planned. I was kind of looking forward to it, hoping it would work out. It didn't, for one reason or another. It, may end up working out with the person again in the future, who knows. But that kind of set it off kind of crappy. I kind of moped around for a bit, finally decided to get up and go driving for a bit just to clear my head, turn on some music and go figure out something else to do. Something will pop up, right? So I end up messaging some friends and trying to see if they want to get together, maybe go out to eat or do something. And first friend I tried was like, not really feeling it so much today. Second friend is like, okay, sure, why not? But then 5 minutes later, it's like, I'm not really feeling up to going out either. Can we just postpone and do another day sometime here soon? It's happened like 2 more times. And I'm just like, well, okay, screw it. I'll give up on other people. It's Valentine's Day. Other people are probably having their own issues. And, they're either doing stuff with their loved ones, or they're kind of like I was, kind of in mope pit, or just not feeling it. So I was like, all right, I'll just do a me day. I'll do something else. Let's maybe try to go to Universal or something. So I was like getting ready to go over there, but then I realized, crap, it's busy as hell over there, and I'm not really feeling the crowd. So I'm like, well, let's just strike out again. It's just, again, everything was kind of just piling up. There was a lot of sitting in between these decisions, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Maybe like half hour just sitting there in a parking lot or driving around randomly, listening to music, just trying to figure out what I want to do, because I was in one of those moods where it was like nothing was really sounding great. But once I finally decided what I wanted to do, it wasn't an option anymore. So after finally giving up on doing anything really fun, I'm like, all right, I'm hungry, let's go. It's getting close to time for things to start closing maybe, but should have enough time to actually get somewhere. I decided on Polo Tropical. There's a location not too far from me, but turns out they close a little earlier than the other locations that I've been to. And so I'm trying to go, and I find out they're closed, and I'm like, well, son of a bitch, this keeps happening. Like, again, stuff just keeps almost being there for me. Like, as soon as I make a decision, I get excited about it, I try to go for it or whatever, and then it just fizzles out. It's like a bunch of almost there kind of crap. So I ended up going to another place. I think I was going to Taco Bell, and the line was just like astronomical. So I'm like, well, that's not happening. Next, I tried to go to like Subway. They were closed earlier than their location had listed. So I'm like, ended up going one more place, and they were out of what I wanted. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Just start trying to, pull over, start trying to look for something else. Ended up finding out that Del Taco was open, which that was something that I kind of wanted originally, but to my knowledge, they had been closing even earlier than everything else at like 9 p.m. for some reason lately. Or at least that's what I had last known. Turns out they're open till like 2 now. So I'm like, okay, I'll go there. Basically the same thing that I would have gotten at Pollo Tropical is what I got at Del Taco. It's, a Beyond Meat burrito with rice, beans, and a few other little fillings that are more unique to each location, but it was basically the same base and same general thing, potatoes and a burrito. So it's basically the same thing. More on this later though, because that's a little ironic and it kind of plays into everything else. So backing it up a little bit before the food, like I said, there was a lot of driving in between these things and whatnot, and it's worth noting that the last week or so I've been seeing a lot of this same meme or inspirational quote in a lot of different forms, like different pictures and whatnot with it, just saying everything in the universe or everything that happens is a sign, whether you believe it or not, but everything is a sign. The universe is always talking to us. It's just a matter of if you're listening. And then there was another one that's like, you will never miss a sign from the universe. It's simply going to keep getting louder and louder until you finally get it. And that's kind of what it was like weighing on my mind as everything was going on. As I'm running into these dead ends, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what is the universe trying to tell me right now? I keep getting close to things that I'm wanting to do for the day, but what is it ultimately trying to tell me? It's like, I believe everything happens for me instead of to me, but what is the purpose of all these disappointments and everything just kind of crapping on me at the last second right now? It's like, what on earth is all this frustration for? What is it trying to tell me? And it finally kind of hit me. There was this moment where it was just kind of like, the consistent thing here is I'm almost there. I'm almost getting what I want. Everything is almost happening, but then it's falling apart at the last second on me. And that's kind of how I feel with, I don't want to say feel with everything that's happening in my life right now, because honestly, like, I feel like things are coming together. But I remember Victor Odo, one of the people I listen to a lot, was talking about how right before like something you're trying to manifest really happens, you'll get a lot of this like what seems like negative synchronicity showing you that, making you question if it's really the right path and making you think if something's going to happen or not, and you almost feel like turning back. But it's really not negative synchronicity. It's trying to tell you something, and normally right before something really good happens, you have this moment of frustration with it where it's just like a struggle to get it to happen. And I started thinking, it's like, what if all this is trying to tell me I'm really close to what I'm wanting? It's like, what if it's telling me I'm almost there? Because everything is almost there today. But, I'm kind of thinking of slipping back into like old habits and whatnot and just giving up. Like, I'm starting to question all this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I really don't want to question it. I believe this stuff. I believe in all of it. But it's shown me time and time again that I can trust it. But I'm getting all this frustration today. Granted, it's just a single day, but nonetheless, I'm sure you can relate when everything is just kind of conspiring against you, it seems. So suddenly, my mind is kind of open now at this point. It's no longer, all this stuff is frustrating. It's like, this is reflecting to me my state of things, because honestly, I haven't quite been following my intuition like I believe I should. I've been following it like 90%, maybe 80%, somewhere in there. But I'm getting a reflection back of a lot of the stuff that I'm wanting to have happen is like 80 to 90% happening, but it's not 100% there. It's not completely there. And so it's like, I feel like that was reflecting back to me. I'm almost there. Stop getting in my own way, make the final, adjustments that I need to make, and let things happen. And then as I started like thinking this, I started getting a lot more synchronicity. Songs were coming on the radio. I did an oracle card reading, and I'm going to go through that in a moment here as well to kind of walk you through these little signs. Again, you may end up thinking I'm completely nuts as I'm talking about these, because it might seem like I'm reaching, but this is my experience with these signs, and when you start having these signs hit on your intuition and hit with the thoughts that you're thinking, and it's so synchronistic, when you have an experience like this, it probably does sound crazy to everyone else. The people that I've heard talk about their experiences like this, it sounded crazy to me at first too. I was like, there's no way I'm going to have an experience like that. I just did, and I'm about to explain it to you. So, as the loneliness from, the canceled date and just being alone and everything, and the frustration of the day with everything on Valentine's Day, I started kind of sinking back into, well, maybe I just need some kind of connection of any kind. So, I started like hitting the apps, thinking maybe go to a bar or something, just anything to maybe wind up having some kind of connection with someone. It doesn't matter if it's a date or just a physical connection, kind of thing. It was just kind of me reverting back to an old defense mechanism, which ultimately would have been me running from the feeling. But as I'm like kind of driving around, just waiting for something to maybe pop up or trying to figure out if I really want to do that, because it's like deep down I know I don't, but it'll make me feel better than now, but it's not going to make me feel better in the future. It's just going to kind of be like it's going to be something to cover up what I'm feeling. And as I'm driving around, some songs started coming on the playlist. Like I started out the first one initially just because I thought it'd make it feel better, and it kind of resonated with me. It's a song called "Best I Can" by Art of Dying, and the some of the lyrics to it go. Give me 1 second here. Like the chorus is basically just, "I'm doing the best I can with everything I am. Don't you know nobody's perfect? Do you understand how hard I'm trying to do the best I can?" If you haven't heard the song, honestly, it's really powerful. I love the song. Reading the lyrics doesn't do it justice. Rarely does reading the lyrics ever do a song justice. But I realized I'm doing the best I can from the perspective I'm at the time, the consciousness level. Resorting back to that kind of stuff. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes you have to do it. But it wasn't what I felt I needed to be doing. It was just basically a crutch. It was something that I would do to feel better in the now. But the song kind of hit me a bit because it's like, yeah, I'm telling myself I'm doing the best I can by doing this, and it's okay to do it, but deep down I know I'm not doing the best I can. I'm telling myself this is the best I can because it's the easy thing to do, but I'm refusing to commit to this vision I have of the new me, the person I want to be, living and being the person that I envision myself being when everything in my life comes together. It's like I'm trying to be that person. I'm trying to really be that new me that I want to be. That's just doing everything that he does when I'm living that life that I see as my best life. And it's like, I mostly am this person at this point. I want to say I'm like 80% there, maybe 85, somewhere in there. But I'm not quite there. So it's like, it starts this little train of thought of, am I really doing the best I can? I think I am. I'm telling myself I am because it's easier than admitting I'm not. But maybe I'm not ready to admit that, Which leads me to the next song that kind of had a little epiphany. The next song was Chances by Five for Fighting. While it's not a specific lyric in the song that kind of resonated with me, it was just the overall tone of the song. The lyrics honestly kind of lend towards the way that I took this intuitively, but kind of don't also. It basically was just like reaffirming to me, you've had this like little inner roadmap to the life that you want, and you've been following it for the most part, but you're kind of scared to fully commit to it because what if it doesn't lead you to where you want, kind of thing. Like I admittedly am afraid of it a little bit because even though I believe it, there's still that part of me that's like, what if I follow it and I don't get what I want? Is it gonna like crumble all my belief system and everything? It's not. Like, I know by now, if you don't get what you want, it's just preparing you for something better in the future. But I haven't really given this change a chance. I keep thinking it's going to get me almost there, kind of like I've been saying with this stuff today, where it's like I get almost there. I'm afraid that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna somehow, I guess, miss out on something by changing that extra part of me. And ultimately, I'm just scared. So it's telling me this song, Chances, is like, what this other path leads to. It's not leading to anything happier for you. Why don't you start trying it this way? Because honestly, like each step I take of following my heart in that little roadmap, I can see the pieces of my life start to pull together. And it's not that I'm not living a life that I want to live. It's just our lives ever change and transform and evolve. Like it goes through a process. And as I grow, so do my wants and my vision for how I want my life to be. And it's like, I hit these slowdowns and whatnot and the speed bumps, and it doesn't. It takes me back to the habits and whatnot, or gets me in this point where I'm a little afraid to take that next step. So I slow down and I don't take the next step as fast as I should. But deep down, it's like I keep wanting to follow that roadmap. Like I want to follow my heart on it. But doing that involves giving up a little bit of the old me. It's I have to let go of it, which there's a fear of letting go of that. And that kind of plays in with some of these other songs that are popping up as well. It's basically, I have tried almost literally everything except for taking that chance on that specific roadmap that I have. And I don't want to say like exact specific roadmap, because it's not like I have every point along the way planned out. It's just kind of this intuitive from here to there heart knowing thing where it's like, okay, this is where I want to end up. I don't need to have it planned each step of the way, but I need to listen to my heart each step of the way. And when I feel compelled to take certain actions, I need to take those actions. And when I feel compelled to kind of sit in the moment, I need to sit in that moment rather than letting my mind get in the way and be like, oh no, that's scary though. Like we might miss out. Let's go over here and do this instead. Like I've tried everything except that specific, very specific way that my heart has been telling me to try. So that moment that song came on, it just kind of hit me of maybe it's time to try that. I know where the other road leads. Why not try this? So the next song that came on was one called Change Your Mind by Sister Hazel, which the general theme of the song is just, if you don't like who you are, you don't like the life you're living and whatnot, change it. Change your mind. Change who you are. Change your story. Change you. That's the general gist of it. This came on while it was right after Chances, but at that point, I had kind of, even though I had those two songs that were kind of like confirming to me, hey, maybe you should change this. My stubborn ass is still going from the Voice of Desire, which I've talked about a little bit before. I think I have. If not, it's coming up in the video. I can't remember. But I believe there's like 3 different voices that we have inside of us. The voice of intuition, the voice of desire, and the voice of anxiety. And sometimes they can all 3 kind of sound similar. And for a moment, I started realizing I'm listening to the voice of desire at the moment, because rather than doing what I thought of, trying that heart path version of what I think I should do, I was still getting ready to drive to the bar, because it's like, well, I'm feeling lonely and I don't trust that yet. But then Change Your Mind comes on, and I'm just like, first I took it very literally of change your mind, turn back around, go home, listen to yourself. And then it just kept kind of evolving. It was telling me I could or I should just turn around and do the me thing that the future me would do, or not the future me, but the me that I'm trying to become, the me that I know is there already, but I'm just not quite stepping in the vibration of, I'm not stepping into that role entirely. I'm still clinging a little bit to the old. And it's like, I could hear that voice of intuition start to come through louder than that voice of desire that was driving me to go to that bar. It's like, yeah, I might end up there, and yeah, it might help the loneliness. But I want to be kicking myself in the ass after, because I've done this before, and I kick myself in the ass after, where it's like, what if I had just listened to that other voice, though? Would it change like the vibration that I'm sending out to the universe and just start conspiring everything towards exactly what I'm wanting, rather than giving it this, I don't want to say half-assed, but sort of half-assed or 80% assed or whatever you want to call it, of me towards that version of life. And I'm getting kind of a reflection back all the time of things are like mostly where I'm wanting, but what happens if I just decide to be that full me that I think lives in that life that I'm wanting? Would I get that full life? Well, I've not really tried that yet. Why don't I find out? I'm either going to find that life, or worst case, I'll find out that I don't. But why not try it at this point? It's like, change your mind. Like it felt like it was really telling me just turn back around and change my mind. So I made that choice. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to start listening to it. So I turned around and I decided I'm going to go get food. This is the point where I decided I'm going to, switch. So I reroute from trying to go to this bar and go to get food. So the next song that came on, and there's a few more after this, like it was actually like almost a playlist of songs that came on. But the next one was, and no, when I say playlist, it wasn't my own playlist. It was just a mix of songs that kind of, you know how Pandora does, where it plays songs that you like. It was like a full genre difference. But the next one that comes on is Close to Me by Ellie Goulding. Honestly, I've heard the song before. I can tell you 2 lines out of it. And when it first came on, those 2 lines are what kind of hit me. Like I know the lines of the song. I can't quote any others. But first 2 lines of the chorus are, I don't want to be somebody without your body close to me. And if it wasn't you, I wouldn't want anybody close to me. And this kind of drilled home the next point of, the last song, Change Your Mind and whatnot, and chances and all that. Like I said, I was getting ready to go to a bar, but it's like, that probably would have led to an emotional decision to just end up with someone. But the truth is, I'm kind of tired of those kind of connections. They're fun when they happen, but I'm wanting something more meaningful at this point. And it's not just like, it doesn't have to be like a full-on romantic relationship, but it's like, I want meaningful connections. Whether it's something that happens like with a close friend or, an actual romantic relationship. I don't want just, at least not normally anyway, just like the fleshy pleasure connections. I want real connections that are intimate with someone that I want to talk to afterwards, someone that actually means something to me. Again, I'm open to how that is, but it's like, I want to be mindful about those connections, which plays into a oracle card that I've been drawing a lot lately. It was sinking in, but it sunk in even more because of this, just how everything was playing, from the different songs to how everything was playing out. The oracle card was conscious connections, and it was talking very much about being intentional with where you're putting your energy, who you're connecting with and whatnot, which also coincided with, I forget when it was like maybe a few weeks ago, I saw somebody in one of the spiritual groups I'm in post something about, be careful who you're intimate with in a bedroom, because when you are intimate with someone, energies mix, and sometimes energies shouldn't be mixing with certain people for whatever reason. It can either lower your vibe or whatever, but whether or not you believe in this is something I do kind of believe in. It's like, sometimes energies are meant to be mixed. But for me, what is meaningful right now is mixing energies with people that means something to me, not just random people. So this all kind of resonated with me with this song. And again, there's only 2 lines in the song that stick out to me. The rest of the song really doesn't really pertain as much to it, but the 2 lines that I can actually quote from the song play into this whole synchronicity of these little signs. The next song that came on was something called Creating a Dream by Xavier Rudd. This is one of my all-time favorite songs. I don't listen to it very often, though. It normally comes on randomly for me at a time when I really need to hear it and listen to it. Normally at a time when I'm having a lot of impatience with my life and I'm not letting things happen. The song, the chorus of it, again, choruses really stick out to me a lot, obviously, like they do most people, but it says in there, patience please, I'm creating a dream. I always take this as like my soul singing to me, being like, hey, just wait for a moment, be a little patient. I'm trying to, work with the universe to kind of conspire everything in your favor, patience. I'm creating a dream, quite literally. And it always hits me at this time when I'm trying to rush things or I'm trying to be impatient and I'm not focusing on what I think I need to be focusing on, which oftentimes that focus calls for patience, and something I'm not great at sometimes is patience. The next song was just Katy Perry's Firework. And, the whole, baby, you're a firework, come on, let your colors burst, let them go up, up, up. And it's a very encouraging song to just tell you to be yourself, let your colors shine kind of thing. And that's kind of the theme that was coming through some of this of let your real self shine, step into the real you, try being the real you, try being that you think you're supposed to be, that your heart's telling you to be, so that you can start creating the life that you is living. Like, a while back I heard something that was like, think of all the things that you want to have happen, and then think of you in that version of you, that what does that person do when those things are happening? What choices did they make? What choices did they make to get there? And that's what I mean by that version of me. It's like I'm trying to embody the me that I think lives the life that I want to live. And like I said, I'm close, but I'm not quite there. And I feel like the song was just kind of popping in to be like, hey, more confirmation if you needed more. The last song. Finally, we're at the last song. I know this is getting kind of long, but bear with me. Like, I'm trying to be thorough so you get the full story of it, because honestly, I've been like tripping balls over this whole experience because it's been kind of exciting for me. And yeah, anyway, the last song was The Let Go by El King. And honestly, there's a lot of lines in this song that kind of hit home for me with this because it has little nodes to some of the other songs. Some of the lines, forgive me while I look away from the camera to read some of this because there's too much to fully memorize, but it says something like, I take my chances, I know I should. When the light comes, listen closely, follow my shadow to the old me. And it felt kind of like this, it's telling me, yeah, I can just follow myself to the old me, or I can take my chances like I know I should. And the next line is, Mother of the Moon, tell me what to do. Shit is scary, shit is new. The tide is calling out for changes. Again, changes, chances kind of thing, like, calling out for the new, pages please, all this stuff. It's like pulling in all of these old songs a little bit. Not specifically, but just the emotion of it. And then, it says something about waiting for the let go. I swear I wouldn't until you said so. Kind of feels like it's my world basically reflecting to me. You'll get there, but we're not going to fully go there until you fully commit to going there. And what I mean by that is, with this let go, it makes me think of the idea of an ego death, which is where like a part of you that built up some belief to protect you is in essence trying to die because it's not needed anymore. Your higher self is like, all right, let's get you out of the way. Let's get this part of you away. Like, you did your job, but you're not so needed anymore. Sometimes you can kind of resurrect that part of you if you decide to go too far back down an old path, but generally speaking, you end up kind of laying that older part of you to rest and slowly stepping into the new you, which is what I've been trying to do. This kind of all pulls together with this, and then just the transition of this song, even the end of it is saying, I'm not waiting for the let go. I don't need any of your say so. I put the pieces back together, so thank you, or whatever. Nothing lasts forever. And it's just, I feel like that's like my higher self or my soul being like, I'm getting a little tired of waiting for you to put this together, so we're going to start creating the pressure, which is why today did what it did, so that it could kind of create that pressure so I could start questioning it and start really pushing me forward into making the changes that I need to make, that I know are best for me deep down, but my stubborn ass is just not getting the hint entirely like I need to, so it's starting to get a little bit more, rather than trying to shoo me along, it's trying to pull me by my ear and, drag me around, and it hurts, it's painful, it's annoying, but ultimately I know it's for my best good. Because, like I said, it's basically life is just showing me you keep trying to step into the new chapter, but you're wanting to still reread bits of the old chapter until you aren't going to get 100% of the new chapter of your life until you fully put down the old. You got to step into the new. You're getting some of the old, and you're getting close, and that's what we're trying to reflect to you. But anyway, as I'm going to get food at this point, because I'm kind of making my way through this. My mind's made up and everything. I've had enough of the music and the sides and everything. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like everything's a sign now. But my mind started going a little bit further with it, and I started creating extra scenarios in my head because when the whole like food thing didn't work out at certain places, I started thinking, wait, what if it's not a sign that I'm close to what I'm wanting? What if it's a sign that what I'm wanting is never going to happen and whatnot? And I started like going on this monkey wheel in my mind of just overthinking everything and talking myself out of my choice now. And again, that's where the voice of anxiety started taking over. Like I said, they can all be kind of similar, but I started getting a little worked up again. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? This seems like a good time for dipping into the tarot cards or oracle cards or whatever. And I did go ahead. I actually did this. I pulled off to a parking lot, and I grabbed my oracle cards. I had actually thought to bring them with me, of all things. Today's been kind of a day of listening to my intuition. Like at one point, I thought I should bring them, so I packed them up and I brought them. I brought like all 5 decks of mine. Didn't know which one I was going to use, but I started thinking I need to just get out of my own way. Like this was flowing through pretty clearly, like it has before. And every time that I've let myself tap into that flow state and listen to it and trust that gut, everything has worked out beautifully. So rather than like worrying about what oracle deck I was going to use, I went ahead and I grabbed the one that I felt I should, which was the Sacred Oracles, or Sacred Rebels Oracle. And the cards that I drew were actually quite on par with like the message from the songs and everything, which really helped calm me down. I'm going to go over those cards as well. I'm not going to go super in depth, but I'm going to show you the cards that I drew and kind of like my interpretation of them, along with a little bit of the excerpts of it, but not all of it, because I know this is getting kind of long. And yeah, it always amazes me how honestly accurate the draws are to match like my mood and my thoughts and just kind of coincide in a very synchronistic way to match my thoughts. It's not, that kind of helps me to believe in this stuff a little bit more, because I don't really get stuff that doesn't resonate at some level. And it's not just that all the cards are this like feel good thing. You know, they have a lot of different sayings and meanings to them. They're not all pointing to the same exact stuff. And just the way that they work together, it's always very impactful and powerful for me. But like I said, I decided to let myself kind of just go with it. Normally with the cards, I draw 1, maybe up to 3 from a single deck. Sometimes I'll mix decks and do more than 3 cards total, but I rarely do more than 3 cards from a single deck unless I'm doing a specific spread. And I wasn't going to do a specific spread. I was just going to, shuffle and do a draw like I normally do. And when I was shuffling, all of a sudden 5 cards fell out, but they fell out in like a clump. And I hadn't looked at them yet, but I was like, okay, which of these 5 cards is it? Is it supposed to be like 1, 2, or 3 of them? And I kept like trying to get a feel for what it was supposed to be. Like, I'll normally close my eyes and just kind of shuffle and wait. I'll normally get kind of this little chill that goes over me that kind of tells me, okay, now's the time to stop. And again, I was starting to get into logical mind with it a little bit and be like, okay, it's got to be a few of these. It probably shouldn't be all 5. For some reason, I was being kind of egotistical with that and thinking that's not how it should be. I eventually decided, you know what? Let's just let this be as absurd as it wants to be. I've been going down this crazy train quite a lot with all kinds of signs, including multiple songs, thinking they were all, meant for me. And I realized where that's kind of a little crazy thought. So I was like, let's just jump on the full crazy bandwagon and just go with it. What's the harm? I'm kind of already there anyway. So the cards I drew were the following, and I'm going to show them on the camera, but I'm also going to put a picture of them up on the screen as I kind of talk about them a little bit more, because before I actually read the excerpts of them, again, I'm not going to read the full excerpts of really any of them. I'm going to read a little bit from one, but I like to piece together my own intuitive feeling of what they're trying to tell me as well. So that's why I'm going to put the picture up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit more clearly, because it's going to be awkward me trying to hold it up with the camera. But the first one was, what do you feel? That's the first card I drew. With following after was come to life. Bring it into form. And then seeing the true you. And shock of the new. And specifically in this order, I felt was very important. It's the order I flipped them over in, and I felt like it was telling quite a story with it, and I'm going to get into that right now. So, the what do you feel card. You've got this woman sitting there with an apple and an orange, weighing the 2 out and kind of looking up at the earth. I didn't get so much from the visual of this as I did just the whole what do you feel, the actual words of it and what that pulled up for me, which was just, I need to pay attention to how I'm feeling with this. Deep down, I feel I need to follow that heart path that is there that I keep ignoring, rather than the superficial, or not superficial, but just the habits that I learned from the old me. And I think that's kind of what the apple and the orange represent. It's both have a way of making me happy, but what I'm really wanting might be more the apple right now, but I keep going for the orange. Kind of metaphor there. But the second one was come to life. And in this, you have this woman sitting there with a monkey holding a paint thing. And she's just seemingly painting color onto herself with me. So it's she's painting herself to life. And that was kind of representative to me of me wanting to bring that new version of me fully to life. She's clearly sitting there as this living being, but she's not quite in color yet. She's not fully her. And that's what that was kind of trying to tell me. Is what do I feel? I feel like I want to be the new me. Well, bringing that new me to life is basically what this is trying to tell me. The next card was bring it into form, which is just a pair of legs walking through what looks to be puddles with what looks kind of like fireflies coming up or something. And what this kind of spoke to me was, once I, bringing that real me to life, it's going to take a little bit of time to bring out the best of that real me, of that new me that I'm wanting to be. I keep saying real me. It's all the real me, but the newer version of me, the me that I am trying to become, the better me. Or words are kind of failing me for the version of me that I wanted to say. But to me, this is just kind of saying it's going to take a little bit of time to learn to fully step into that. But once I decide I'm going to step into it, I might get a little wet along the way or something, trying to really learn to walk that path entirely. But I will eventually master it. And once I do, it's going to be awesome, which is kind of like the thing of the fireflies or whatever. It's like saying it's going to be magical, I guess. The fourth card was seeing the true you, which to me, there's this woman laying on a couch in the middle of a pond, and she's like looking at her reflection in the water. And to me, this was basically saying, like, I see the real me, I see the true me already, but I'm not fully being it yet, which is kind of falling in line with the rest of it. And it's like, once I start to see the real me, her seeing the reflection, that's kind of indicating the reflection I'm getting in life. I'm getting a lot of 80% there, 90% there, a lot of almost. Once I start seeing the true me or the real me, I'm going to see the full reflection of what I'm wanting instead of partial or mostly the reflection. Like, that's kind of how I'm taking it. But part of seeing like the true me, it takes me back to that the Polio Tropical and Del Taco thing that I just talked about at the very beginning. I need to make sure that I don't paint the reflection so specifically, because like I experienced with dinner, it's like, it's such a simple little thing to pull from, but I literally wanted the Polio Tropical burrito thing. I got pretty much the same thing at Del Taco. It was just slightly different. I enjoyed it pretty much the same. Like, there was very little difference. I was just as happy. I was satisfied. So I need to kind of keep that in mind when I start seeing the reflection that's coming back to me in the future. It may not look exactly how I thought it needed to, but it's going to feel exactly like I think it should. Like, until that happens, I'm not at the true reflection. But once it does, as long as I don't pigeonhole it into this very, very, very specific thing, it's going to come back to me in a way that I'm going to enjoy, and in a way that resonates fully with me, and is just, it's going to reflect what I believe it's going to reflect, because I'm already getting a reflection of how much I'm giving into it. And the last card was Shock of the New, and this card has a lot going on. It's got a woman with stuff all over her face. It looks like little light things around different chakras: the crown chakra, the third eye, the throat chakra, the heart chakra. It's got this little thing on her eye that looks almost like a tear type thing to me, at least. I know it's not actually a tear, but it's like some kind of face makeup accessory thing that looks kind of like a tear, or multiple tears or something. But she's got like the flowers in her hair and what looks like speakers up on the other side with a warped piano and whatnot. Then below you've got like this like rainbow wave thing on the left side and what looks like a castle type thing in the background. There's just a lot going on with it. And it's kind of telling me, the new might be kind of chaotic at first, and it might be different and very shocking to me, but it's going to be beautiful. I mean, like, look at this. It's got so much beauty going on to it. And the tear thing kind of makes me think of like tears of joy. And the whole piano thing kind of tied into the whole music thing with me earlier, which, again, there's like little tidbits of all this. Basically, the new is going to be exciting. It might be not what I'm necessarily 100% expecting, but it's going to be amazingly awesome, is basically what I'm getting from this. And I think part of this draw was also to just kind of tie in little bits. Like, I'm really been focusing on that little piano thing and how bent it is. It's almost like telling me that reality kind of bent those songs in that order for me to get that exact message in that exact way that, honestly, I'm sure sounds crazy to a lot of people. But, somewhere out there, someone needs to hear my brand of crazy. If you're still listening to me at this point in this video, you're either waiting for confirmation, which you probably just got, that I am insane in your mind, or there's something about this that is kind of resonating with you. or both, you know. Well, hello, cat. Thank you for jumping up here. Real quick, I'll just show you my cat that decided to come visit. Ah. Anyway, sorry, the cat kind of decided to jump in there. But back to what I was saying. You know, the shock of the new, it's like, this card is unbelievable in what it looks like. I mean, there's just so much going on. But that kind of is telling to me. It's like, it makes me think back to when I followed what I thought was a crazy sign back, you know, about a year ago to come out to Orlando. Back then it was just, you know, following a few letters that I turned into numbers that gave me some little message that encouraged me to leave my safe little nest and come out here. But this is just telling me it's going to be unbelievably beautiful once I follow this path as well, just like it was when I followed what I thought was the crazy train back then. Just because it's crazy doesn't mean it's not right. And like I said, if you made it this far, there's a reason you're still listening, whether it's because you're just entertained by my crazy ass right now, or you think something about this is actually resonating with you. If it's just you're out of sheer curiosity and you think I'm crazy, honestly, I'm pretty convinced that at some point this is a seed being planted for you to have you look back, whether it's 15, 20 years from now, and be like, oh, that crazy dude that was on YouTube talking about all these little signs that he was having, oh, maybe it's not so crazy now because I'm starting to experience this. It happened with me a while back too. You know, I listened to somebody's story about stuff like this, and I was intrigued. There's a part of me that was very judgmental because I wasn't ready to believe in it, but it planted that seed for me. And until I started having these experiences myself, especially this one, I looked at it all kind of skeptically. But when it finally happens to you and it's your experience, your real authentic experience, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like, there's a reason for it. And, you know, I fully believe sharing this with people is going to help someone out there, probably many people, who are looking for confirmation that they're not crazy when they're experiencing something like this. Because, believe me, the logical side of me is just like, dude, have you seen you lately? Like, what are you doing? But the side of me that has learned to follow these kind of wild ass connections that happen through different little synchronicities that just feel right to me has learned that they don't really guide me wrong. Like, every time I follow them, even if it takes me a while to follow it, life ends up better in a way that I didn't see coming. Kind of like the whole shock of the new is showing. It's like, it's going to be unbelievably beautiful. I may not realize what it's going to look like, but I can rest assured it's going to be magnificent. The one bit of the excerpt that I'm going to actually share is from the What Do You Feel card, and because it resonated in multiple ways for me, both for inspiring me to actually share this video with you guys, and I'll explain why in a moment with kind of what I'm reading, but also just dialing back the stuckness I felt of indecision, because like I said earlier, I started getting kind of caught up in everything's a sign. Oh my god, what if this is actually a sign and I'm taking it wrong? And I almost got like paralyzed by choice, which is made me pull out the cards to begin with. And this being the first one, it kind of erased that anxiety real quick. And this is why. Like, the first part of it has to deal with, cat apparently left a hair in my mouth, sorry. But the first part of it says, there are many opinions around you. Some are helpful, but others are distracting you from your truth. Although it can be helpful to hear thoughts of others, when it all comes down to it, you will have to come to your own decision. Do you know how unique you are, how your path is your path to be chosen, lived, and created only by you? Someone else cannot become the source of your decision-making power without negative repercussions for both of you in the long run. And that kind of spoke to me about, like, while I was going through this, I kept thinking, I kind of want to share this on the channel because it's really powerful to me. But I don't know if everyone's going to get it, and, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to make fun of this, and that's fine. Like, I fully expect it. But it's my experience. It is something that only I am living, breathing, feeling, and having right now. And I know there's people out there that are having their own version of it, like I've said a couple times already. And it kind of helped me to be like, you know what? The people that aren't ready to hear it, that I'm not doing this for them, so why worry about it? The people that are ready, that are going to appreciate this, whether it's, like I said, years from now or not, this is going to help them. And this is because it helped me hearing somebody else's brand of crazy at one point. And I'm just thinking, am I really ready to share my brand of crazy publicly? Well, why not? Like it's what helped me before. Might as well contribute and help somebody else. But the next part of it says, this oracle comes to you because you have become swept up in thinking things through. You have been thinking about which way to go with a matter of importance, and you have got a bit stuck in the logic of the decision-making process. Sometimes we have to accept that any path is a path forward, and if it is not the best path, we can then change our approach later on if needed. If we are slightly off base with the decision, life will often shift and move to guide us back on track anyway. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, there is rarely ever a perfect choice to be made. Just some choices feel more heart-honoring than others. So it's basically just telling me, just honor the choice of my heart. And I'm going to get back to, I'm going to get back to what I need to get back to anyway. It goes on to say, this oracle is telling you that there is no need to punish yourself or traumatize yourself with possible choices or the decision-making process. Just make a choice and realize that it's going to either lead you to what you want or it's going to reroute you back to what you were wanting if you did get off track. And both parts of those were very relevant to exactly what I was thinking right before I drew that card, which was, do I want to share this on YouTube or not? Because I know it sounds insane. And oh my God, what if I'm totally misreading all of this and it's just the wrong sign altogether? That's what I mean by like synchronicity and my amazement at how much these cards help sometimes. Because of all the cards that I could draw on the deck, yes, I drew 5 and whatnot, but there's 50 something in the deck. That was the very first one that I drew and read, and it felt so powerful just reading that, because it was just instantly calming all of that anxiety in me that was built up from that whirlwind of bombardment of all kinds of signs, synchronicities, and just this massive download of an epiphany that has been desperately needed for a while. Anyway, I'm going to start wrapping this up because, well, I don't really know where to go with it. I realize it may not feel fully complete yet, but honestly, it's still kind of a developing thing for me as well. But I just felt really compelled to share this part of the story anyway, and I'll probably end up doing an update eventually with it as well. I don't know when, because I have no idea when it's going to resolve for me either, but I can tell there's like this big breakthrough kind of coming through just from these experiences and this, just everything that kind of happened today with it. Like, it started off in a very grouchy, grumpy, pull me down kind of way that I couldn't figure out the reason of, and as you can kind of tell, at least I hope, I'm actually in pretty good spirits right now because I feel like I had one hell of a good day, even though nothing went right. But that's because I feel like I actually got progress in something in my life at this point. It's like I figured out why things were happening. And if I hope that it helps somebody out there by sharing this, because honestly, some of it was a little bit unsettling to share and a little vulnerable. But if it helps someone, it's worth it. Like, I hope me sharing my little adventure and chasing my truth, no matter how crazy it sounds, inspires you to have the guts to kind of chase your truth too, even if it sounds nuts to you or anyone else. Like, if you know it's true or you believe it is and you believe it's the best thing to follow at the time, I hope you'll be brave enough to do it. If you got something from this video and you liked it, please don't forget to physically like it. That way it can actually have a better chance of finding other people that might find this information useful as well. If you like my content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button as well, and don't forget the bell next to it. That helps you make sure that you're actually able to see the new videos and alerted of them. Anyway, if you guys have actually had any signs of your own or crazy epiphanies or triggers that you're unsure of, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I'll try to get, respond to every single one of them. So, anyway, love you all, and catch you guys soon.